Ansarullah, we've been talking about them for the past couple of days. Now they're targeting the genocide entity again, this time with Asqalan and occupied Haifa, military targets, according to Ansarullah, and they're repeating the same thing. We are continuously supporting or in support of our brothers and sisters in Gaza who are oppressed and facing a genocide. We carried out these strikes again, and we will continue doing so up until the genocide ends and the siege is lifted. Now, this is coming following the attacks from Israel on Yemen, following the attacks of the genocide coalition in Yemen, and following more warnings and escalation in the tone coming from Israel when it comes to Yemen. Katz, now the Israeli foreign minister, is saying, well, this is what we need to do with the Houthis as well, in reference to what? His confirmation, and for the first time, taking responsibility, accepting responsibility for Haniya's assassination in Tehran. Up until this date, this declaration, Israel did not admit that they killed Ismail Haniya in Tehran. They only hinted certain things, but they did not confirm. This is an outright confirmation. And this is another challenge to Iran. Iran is saying now, the IRGC are saying, the IRGC are unbeatable. And if we want, we can attack Israel on our own without any need for any other groups in the region. More statements coming from Iran that the movements that we support are independent. The resistance front movements in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Yemen, people fight because of their faith and belief and because of their causes. However, they don't deny that they support them. But when it comes to Iran itself, no, they can target Israel on their own, and they have proven that they can. The question is now the timing. Benjamin Netanyahu and his administration are escalating the tone against Iran. The head of the Mossad is advising to go and attack Iran. The Israeli political echelon are considering them the head of the snake. There are more movements inside of Israel that are working for Iran. Israel is arresting and uncovering more spy rings working for Iran, knowingly working for Iran against their state, which is something very significant on its own. You know, many people are talking about Israeli victories and the Israeli invasions in Syria and the Greater Israel Project. Israel is destroyed from within. Israel is destroyed from within. Israel is collapsed from within. The people have no faith in their country. The people have no faith in their government, in their army, and they're viewing Iran as a country to be trusted more than their own country. That's why this is translated to people working for Iran, spying for Iran against their own country. This is something very symbolic. Iran, that is constantly regarded as the arch enemy of Israel, and all of the talks that this is the greatest enemy of Israel, despite the fact that they landed their biggest missiles, or some of their biggest missiles, on the genocide entity, well, the people are seeing at the end of the day. They're targeting the military bases, strategic assets, and their country and their government are killing their own people. Massacred their own people on the 7th of October, and then massacred the people in Gaza, and then massacred the Israelis in Gaza, both using the young soldiers as cannon fodder and eliminating all of their prisoners of war inside of Gaza. Which leads me to a statement that came today from Abu Ubaidah. Abu Ubaidah, the spokesperson for Al-Qassam brigades, he had a declaration today, and he said that it's only a matter of a few hundred meters between the Israeli soldiers and their movements that would, kind of declare the fate of some prisoners of war. Israel had a failed attempt to rescue one of their prisoners of war in Gaza in the past day, and clearly they're still on a mission, despite the fact that there's a ceasefire talk path, to try and rescue some of them. But the Palestinian resistance is telling them, well, you can try, but we firstly keep moving them. And secondly, we can't guarantee that these people will be safe. This is a direct warning and threat coming from the Palestinian resistance. The following thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Israel and its message to the new Syrian interim government led by HTS. What are they saying? Well, they're saying we won't tolerate HTS move to southern Syria. According to a Sunday report by the Israeli newspaper TEHRAN, the Israeli regime has sent a message to Abu Muhammad al-Julani, saying that the message declared that the regime intends to maintain its security and will consider leaving the buffer zone should a stable government be established. Vague talk. What does Israel mean by a stable government? Israel calls the interim government in Syria the jihadist government, right? A group of jihadis. They constantly delegitimize them, and they always cast doubt on their success inside of Syria, saying, no, Syria might be breaking up into multiple parts very soon. Again, saying what they wish to happen for Syria, stripping them of legitimacy, being very concerned about the lack of, well, complete and total action from the United States in northeast Syria to support the SDF. They're still supporting them, but not to the sufficient level. And the Turkish forces and the SNA are expanding their reach and taking more Syrian territories from SDF to make them fall under the new government. The new government in Syria are declaring where all of the movements need to be under one Syria, and we won't tolerate any armed groups outside of the Syrian state to take them to the next level. Now, Israel, of course, is not happy with that. They want to keep their freedom of movement inside of Syria. But what are they going to do when Syria officially has a strategic partnership with Turkey that could lead to a defense pact? Well, they're saying this. Syria could become a Turkish protectorate, limiting Israel's freedom of action. With strategic interest in turning Syria into an anti-Kurdish bulwark, Turkey is seeking to take the place of Russia and Iran, including control of Syria's airspace. So the Israelis are not that happy about the Turkish influence when it comes to Syria. And, well, we've had more and more statements coming from Turkey, threats. The other day, people were chanting next to the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, take us to Jerusalem. And he replied to them in Arabic, Man sabara dhafar, he who has been patient will succeed eventually. More warnings came after that from the Turkish foreign minister, Hakan Fidan, against Israel. Respect Syrian territories. Other warnings came from other officials. But the biggest warning that came from none other than Davlat Bahçeli. Davlat Bahçeli is considered to be a kingmaker inside of Syria, inside of Turkey, excuse me. This man has been a long-standing ally of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He has been the deputy prime minister previously, and he headed the General Assembly inside of Turkey. What is he saying now? He's saying, well, he's promising people to take them to Jerusalem. Promises supporters, Turkey will take them to Jerusalem. Bahçeli said, we will break the teeth of those who threaten us in Jerusalem, addressing a group of supporters in his speech. What did he also say? We do not tolerate the atrocities of Zionism. History tells us that the first step on the way to Jerusalem is Damascus. If Damascus is secure, Jerusalem will also be secure when the time comes. Omar first captured Damascus in 1636 and then took Jerusalem in 1637. Saladin first took Damascus in 1184 and then captured Jerusalem in 1187. Sultan Salim first conquered Damascus in 1516 and then left his mark in Jerusalem. Those who bare their teeth at us and wag their fingers should know that we will pull out their teeth. The time to do this in Jerusalem is near. Therefore, Israel must turn away from its mistakes. We do not tolerate the atrocities of Zionism. We are not afraid. Once we get angry, others should think twice. Our longing for the sight of the Mount of Olives is immense, a geography of our hearts ignited by memories of Jerusalem, and it has reached the point of overflowing with a single drop. Thus, from the moment Damascus was conquered, the conquest of Jerusalem is close. This is beyond just a statement and, just talk for his fans. Things are getting intense between Israel and Turkey, undoubtedly. Now the battleground is in Syria. In Syria, we have a major battle between the two primary forces inside of Syria, Turkey and the US. But both Turkey and the US have partners. Turkey has the Syrian people and the Syrian armed groups, now the interim government, and the US has partners, the terrorists inside of Syria and Israel. They share the same interests, but when it comes to Turkey, Turkey is a threat. Now, previously, the potential of a clash between Israel and Turkey was very small, primarily due to the geographical differences and distance between them. However, since Turkey is the main backer of HTS and the SNA, now the interim government inside of Syria, that means Israel is facing, like they're stating here, Turkey inside of Syria. That gets situations like the Turkish president stated previously of a potential invasion, when he said, like we invaded other countries, we can invade Israel as well. More likely, the scenario of an involvement from Turkey, a country that has recently cut all ties with Israel, a country that had increased hostilities with Israel, and a country that blatantly supports the Palestinian resistance, the clash becomes more likely between the two powers.